She destroyed me in front of 300 people. Called me less than a woman because I couldn't have children. My ex-husband laughed and clapped. But 3 days later, he was on his knees begging me to save his dying baby. The same baby she used to humiliate me. And what I discovered during that surgery, it changed everything. The universe has a way of exposing liars, and you won't believe what happened when the truth finally came out. This is my story, and I promise you, you need to hear how this ends. Welcome to Reality Stories Hub. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. You know that feeling when your entire world just stops? When someone says something so cruel that you can actually feel your heart breaking inside your chest. I had that moment at a fundraising dinner in Chicago, right in front of hundreds of people. I watched her smile as she rubbed her pregnant belly, staring right at me. Some women just have it, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Real women know how to make their husbands happy in every way. My ex-husband laughed. Everyone at that dinner looked at me, waiting to see if I would cry. But they didn't know the whole story. They didn't know what was coming. Before I go any further, let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I've spent the last 15 years of my life saving children. I'm a heart surgeon who works with babies and kids. I've operated on newborns whose hearts were so tiny they fit in the palm of my hand. I've held beating hearts and fixed them when everyone else said it was impossible. But nothing prepared me for the day my own heart would break in a way that couldn't be fixed with surgery. I met Daniel Brooks when I was 30 years old. He owned a construction company that built fancy apartment buildings all over Illinois. Beautiful high-rises with marble lobbies and doormen in uniforms. He made me feel special with his confidence and big dreams. We got married after dating for 2 years, and for a while, everything felt perfect. We were that couple everyone envied. You know the type, the ones who seemed to have everything figured out. But then we decided to start a family. That's when my whole world started falling apart. Month after month, I saw negative pregnancy tests. Doctor's appointments that left us feeling hopeless and confused. We tried everything you can imagine. Fertility doctors, expensive treatments that cost as much as a car, special diets, acupuncture, meditation, prayers. 6 years. 6 long, painful years of watching everyone around us have babies while we got nothing but bad news and medical bills that kept piling up. And with every failure, Daniel pulled away from me. He stopped holding my hand the way he used to. He stopped looking at me with love. Instead, I saw something else in his eyes, blame. Like my body was broken, and I had somehow tricked him into marrying me. The man who used to tell me I was amazing and beautiful started making comments about how maybe we just weren't meant to be together. He never said it directly, but I knew what he meant. He thought it was all my fault. The divorce happened fast. 8 years of marriage ended with him pushing papers across our kitchen table on a Tuesday morning. He didn't even look sad about it. He just wanted out. He wanted to move on and find someone who could give him what I apparently couldn't. 7 months later, I saw the photos on Facebook. Daniel Brooks, married to Jessica Palmer in a small ceremony in Hawaii. She was gorgeous, blonde hair, blue eyes, 10 years younger than me. And if you looked closely at the wedding photos, you could tell she was already pregnant. That's when I understood. He had probably been seeing her while we were still married. That's when I realized I had wasted 8 years of my life on a man who saw me as defective the moment I couldn't give him a child. But I didn't fall apart. I couldn't. I had patients who needed me. Tiny babies whose parents trusted me with their precious children's lives. I threw myself into my work harder than ever before. I published medical research. I spoke at conferences around the country. I built a reputation as one of the best pediatric heart surgeons in America. And I tried not to think about Daniel and his new wife and the baby they were expecting. Then came the invitation to the Midwest Heart Foundation dinner. I was being honored for my work and asked to give the main speech. It was huge. The kind of recognition I had worked my entire career for. I bought a beautiful red dress, got my hair styled, practiced my speech over and over. I was ready, until I walked into that ballroom and saw them. Daniel and Jessica made an entrance like they were celebrities. She wore a tight white dress that showed off her very pregnant belly, maybe 6 or 7 months along. He had his hand on her back, guiding her through the crowd like she was made of glass. The way he used to touch me before everything went wrong. I felt every single person in that room look back and forth between them and me. Everyone knew our story. In medical circles and business circles in Chicago, people talk. Everyone knew about our fertility problems, our divorce, his quick remarriage. And now here we were, all in the same room, with his pregnant new wife practically glowing with the one thing I could never give him. I held my head high. I smiled. I talked with my colleagues and donors. I pretended like my insides weren't being ripped apart. And then Jessica walked up to me during the cocktail hour. She had this sweet smile on her face, but her eyes were ice cold. "Sarah," she said, her voice dripping with fake kindness. "It's so nice to see you. You look great. Really, you do." She rubbed her belly in that way pregnant women do, making sure everyone noticed. "I hope this isn't too weird for you. Daniel told me about your problems. It must be so hard watching other women do what you couldn't." I felt the blood drain from my face. Around us, conversations stopped. People were pretending not to listen, but everyone was hanging on every single word. Daniel was standing right there, and he didn't say anything to defend me. He just looked uncomfortable, like he wished he was anywhere else. "Congratulations on your pregnancy," I said, keeping my voice calm and professional. "I hope everything goes well for you." "Oh, it will," she said with a confident laugh. "Some of us are just built for this, you know? Daniel always wanted to be a father. I'm so happy I could give him that gift." The way she emphasized the word, I felt like a knife in my chest. I excused myself and walked away before I said something I would regret. But Jessica wasn't finished with me. During dinner, she made sure everyone at our table heard about her pregnancy. The nursery they were decorating. The name they had chosen. How easy it had been for them to conceive. "We weren't even really trying," she said with a laugh. And Daniel sat there, smiling and nodding, his hand constantly on her shoulder, her arm, her belly. Then came the speeches. Different people talked about the foundation's work, about the children we had saved, about the importance of funding heart research for kids. And then Jessica stood up. She wasn't supposed to speak. But she stood up anyway, holding her glass of sparkling water. "I just want to say," she announced, her voice carrying across the entire ballroom, "how blessed I feel to be here tonight. To celebrate the miracle of life and the miracle of family." She looked directly at me. "It takes a special kind of woman to build a complete family. To give the man you love everything he needs. I'm so grateful to be that kind of woman. To all the real women here who understand what truly matters, this toast is for you." The room went completely silent. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Daniel was smiling, raising his glass to her like she had said something beautiful instead of something deliberately cruel and calculated. Other people looked uncomfortable, shocked even, but nobody said anything. Nobody defended me. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out of that ballroom with whatever dignity I had left. I could feel hundreds of eyes on my back. I could hear the whispers starting. And I made it all the way to the bathroom before the tears came. I cried in that bathroom stall like I hadn't cried through the entire divorce. Because it wasn't just about the baby anymore. It was about the public humiliation. The cruelty of it. The way she had turned my deepest pain into entertainment for a room full of people. The way he had let her do it. When I finally pulled myself together and came out, Dr. Richard Thompson was waiting in the hallway. He's the head of pediatrics at my hospital, a mentor and a friend. He didn't say anything at first. He just pulled me into a hug and let me fall apart one more time. "She's cruel," he said quietly. "And he's a fool. But you, Sarah, you're brilliant and strong. You don't need either of them to prove your worth." I went home that night and tried to forget about it. But the universe had different plans. Someone at that dinner had recorded Jessica's toast on their phone and posted it online. By the next morning, it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. The headlines read, "Millionaire's wife shames ex over infertility, and cruel toast goes viral." People were outraged. The comments were flooded with support for me and anger toward her. The hashtag infertility shaming was trending nationwide. My phone didn't stop ringing. Patients reached out. Colleagues called to check on me. News reporters wanted interviews and statements. And then, 3 days after the gala, Daniel called. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "What do you want, Daniel?" His voice was shaking. Panicked. "Sarah, I need your help. It's the baby. Jessica's baby. There's something wrong with his heart." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "The ultrasound showed problems. They said he has some kind of defect. It's serious, Sarah. Really serious. They said we need a specialist, and you're one of the best. Please. I know I have no right to ask, but he's my son. Please." I closed my eyes. Every instinct told me to hang up. To let him find another surgeon. To let karma do its work. But then I thought about that innocent baby who hadn't done anything wrong. And I couldn't. Send me the medical files, I said. I'll look at them. The files arrived within an hour. Hypoplastic left heart syndrome. The baby's left ventricle, one of the main chambers of the heart, was severely underdeveloped. Without surgery immediately after birth, the baby wouldn't survive more than a few days. It was complicated and delicate, exactly the kind of case that required the most skilled hands available. And whether I liked it or not, I was one of only a handful of surgeons in the entire Midwest who specialized in this exact condition. I called Daniel back. I'll take the case, but we do this my way. All medical decisions go through me. No interference. And you both need to understand that this will require multiple surgeries and years of follow-up care. Anything, he said. Whatever you need. The first consultation with Jessica was tense. She walked into my office 8 months pregnant now, and all that earlier confidence was completely gone. She looked terrified. Daniel sat beside her, holding her hand. And for just a moment, I didn't see the people who had humiliated me. I saw 2 scared parents. I explained the diagnosis in detail. The surgery that would be needed within days of the baby being born. The risks involved. The long-term outlook. Jessica cried through most of it. Then Daniel stepped out to take a phone call, and Jessica completely broke down. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. What I said at the dinner. What I've done to you. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I was cruel and horrible. And now karma is punishing me through my baby. This isn't karma, I said firmly. This is a medical condition. Your baby is sick, but he can be helped. That has nothing to do with your behavior or mine. She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I need to tell you something. Something Daniel doesn't know. She took a shaky breath. I didn't get pregnant naturally. I used IVF with a donor egg. I have endometriosis. I've known since I was 23 that getting pregnant naturally would be nearly impossible for me. When I met Daniel, when he told me about your fertility issues, I saw an opportunity. I got the IVF done in secret. I let him think I was just naturally fertile, that I was everything you weren't. And I threw it in your face because I was insecure and jealous and stupid. I sat back in my chair, processing this bombshell. Does he know any of this? She shook her head. I was going to tell him eventually. But then you got honored at that dinner, and everyone was talking about how brilliant you are. And I felt so small, like I'd always be in your shadow. So I wanted to hurt you the way I hurt inside. And now my baby is sick, and all I can think is that I deserve this. You don't deserve this, I said quietly. And neither does your son. But you need to tell Daniel the truth. Especially because there's something else we need to discuss. Over the next week, I ran additional genetic testing on the baby and reviewed Daniel's medical history more carefully. What I found made everything suddenly make sense. Daniel had a genetic condition that affected his sperm quality and movement. It was mild, not complete infertility, but it made natural conception extremely difficult, almost impossible without medical help. All those years, all that blame he had placed on me. And it had been his issue all along. I called him into my office alone. I showed him the test results. I watched his face go pale as he read through the medical information and realized what it meant. This can't be right, he said, his voice barely a whisper. I got Jessica pregnant. We have proof. Jessica used donor eggs, I said bluntly. She told me herself. And given your condition, I'd strongly recommend genetic testing on the baby after he's born. Because there's a good chance donor sperm was used too, whether she admits it or not. Daniel looked like I'd punched him in the stomach. His whole world, his whole story about me being the broken one, shattered in an instant. All those years, he whispered. I blamed you. I left you because I thought you were defective. I know, I finished. You made me feel worthless because my body couldn't do what you wanted. And now you know the truth. This was never about me, Daniel. It was about you and your ego and your need to blame someone else for your own inadequacy. 2 weeks later, Jessica went into labor early. Emergency C-section. Baby boy born at 36 weeks, with his heart condition even worse than we had anticipated. I scrubbed in for surgery with my team. We spent 9 hours meticulously repairing that tiny heart. It was touch and go. There were moments when I thought we were going to lose him. But we didn't. The surgery was successful. When I walked into the recovery room where Jessica was waiting, she burst into tears the moment she saw my face. Is he? She couldn't even finish the sentence. He's alive, I said. He's stable. He'll need more surgeries as he grows, but he's going to make it. She cried harder, reaching for my hand. Thank you. After everything I did to you, you saved my baby. Why? Why would you do that for me? I pulled my hand back gently. I didn't do this for you. I did it because an innocent child deserved a chance at life. Because this is what I do. This is who I am. Your cruelty doesn't change that. Daniel tried to apologize too. He tried to explain, tried to make excuses for everything. I didn't want to hear it. But I did call them both into a private consultation room 3 days after the surgery, when the baby was stronger and more stable. I told them both about Daniel's genetic condition. I watched Jessica's face as she realized what it meant. I watched them both struggle with the truth that their son might not even be genetically Daniel's. You spent years making me feel like I wasn't enough, I said, looking directly at Daniel. You let her mock me in public for something that was your issue all along. I hope one day your son asks you about all of this. And I hope you tell him the truth, that you blamed an innocent woman for your own problem because it was easier than facing reality. I walked out of that hospital room and didn't look back. The hospital ethics board reviewed everything, of course. They wanted to make sure I had maintained professional boundaries despite the personal history. My documentation was flawless. My surgical decisions were all medically sound. There was nothing to question. I had done my job exactly as I should have. But the emotional weight of it all, that took longer to process. For weeks after, I questioned whether I had made the right choice. Should I have referred them to another surgeon? Should I have let my personal feelings override my professional duty? But every time I thought about walking away, I saw that baby's face in my mind. That innocent child who had done nothing wrong. Dr. Thompson and I talked about it over coffee one afternoon, a few weeks after the surgery. You did the right thing, he said. Not because they deserved your help, but because you're the kind of person who puts the patient first, no matter what. That's what makes you an exceptional surgeon. That's what makes you an exceptional human being. It doesn't feel exceptional, I admitted. It feels like I let them off the hook. Like they got to hurt me and then I had to save them. You didn't save them, he said gently. You saved their child. There's a difference. And whether they ever understand that or appreciate it, you know in your heart that you did what was right. That's all that matters. He was right, of course. But it still hurt. The media attention from the viral video eventually died down, but not before it sparked a national conversation about infertility shaming and how society treats women who can't have children. I received thousands of messages from women sharing their own stories of struggling with infertility, of being blamed and shamed, of feeling broken. I started speaking more openly about my experience. Not for revenge, but because I realized how many people needed to hear that they weren't alone. That their worth wasn't tied to their ability to have children. That they were enough, just as they were. That was 6 months ago now. Baby Brooks, they named him Ethan, is thriving. He's growing stronger every day. Jessica sends me updates sometimes. Pictures of him smiling, medical reports showing his progress. I respond professionally, briefly. Just enough to monitor his medical care, nothing more. Daniel hasn't contacted me since that day in the hospital. I heard through mutual friends that he and Jessica are in counseling, trying to work through the lies and the revelations and everything that happened. I heard they did the genetic testing. I don't know the results, and honestly, I don't need to know. That's their truth to deal with, not mine. As for me, my life looks completely different now. Dr. Thompson and I started dating about 3 months after the surgery. It started as friendship, as professional mentorship, and slowly grew into something beautiful. Something real. He's someone who sees my value beyond what my body can or cannot do. He loves me for my mind, my heart, my passion for helping others. He makes me laugh. He makes me feel safe. And for the first time in years, I feel genuinely happy. And then, 2 months ago, I adopted a baby girl through an international adoption agency. Her name is Emma, and she's perfect. She's 6 months old now, with dark eyes and the sweetest smile you've ever seen. My choice. My timeline. My happiness. When I hold her, I don't think about the years of struggle or the treatments that failed or the husband who blamed me. I just think about how lucky I am to be her mother. About how many different ways there are to build a family. About how love doesn't require biology to be real and deep and meaningful. The other day, I was at the grocery store with Emma in the cart. A woman approached me and said, "Your daughter is beautiful. She has your eyes." I smiled and thanked her, not bothering to explain that Emma is adopted. Because it doesn't matter. She's mine, and I'm hers, and that's all that counts. That night at the fundraising dinner, Jessica tried to break me by mocking what she thought was my failure. But here's what I learned through all of this. My worth was never tied to my womb. Never. Daniel spent years blaming me for something that was actually his issue all along. The universe made sure he learned that lesson in the hardest way possible. Jessica became the very thing she feared, someone struggling with fertility and lying about it, only to realize we had more in common than she thought. We were both women trying to prove our worth in a world that measures us by our ability to bear children. I saved their son not because they deserved it, but because that child deserved a doctor who put medicine above personal feelings. And in doing that, I saved myself too. I proved to myself that my compassion, my skill, and my humanity are bigger than anyone's cruelty. That I can look my worst moment in the face and still choose to be the better person. The universe has a funny way of teaching lessons. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most end up needing you the most. And how you respond in those moments, that defines who you really are. I could have walked away. Nobody would have blamed me. But I didn't. Because at the end of the day, I'm not defined by what Daniel thought of me or what Jessica said about me. I'm defined by the choices I make when nobody's watching. By the values I hold even when it hurts to hold them. Last week, I received an award from the National Pediatric Heart Association. As I stood on that stage accepting it, I looked out at the audience and felt nothing but gratitude. Gratitude for the struggle that made me stronger. Gratitude for the pain that taught me compassion. Gratitude for the ending of one chapter that allowed a better chapter to begin. Dr. Thompson was in the audience with Emma on his lap. She was clapping her little hands, even though she had no idea what was happening. And in that moment, I realized something profound. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's becoming so happy, so fulfilled, so at peace with yourself that you forget revenge was ever necessary. Jessica was wrong that night when she said I wasn't a real woman. I'm as real as they come. I'm a woman who saves lives. A woman who chooses compassion over cruelty. A woman who builds her family in her own way, on her own terms. A woman who knows her worth doesn't come from anyone else's validation. I'm a mother. I'm a surgeon. I'm a partner to someone who truly loves me. I'm enough. I've always been enough. And to anyone reading this who has ever been made to feel less than because your body didn't do what society expected, because your path looked different from others, because someone cruel decided to measure your worth by their own narrow standards, please hear me. You are enough. Exactly as you are. Right now. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. Your worth isn't determined by your ability to have children or meet someone else's expectations or fit into someone else's definition of what you should be. You are enough. Keep your head up. Keep your heart open. Keep moving forward. The right people will see your worth. The right life will find you. And one day, you'll look back at the moments that tried to break you and realize they were actually the moments that made you. This is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, reminding you that living well isn't just the best revenge. It's the only revenge worth having. Because at the end of the day, the opinion that matters most is the one you have of yourself. And I finally like what I see when I look in the mirror. That's worth more than anything Daniel or Jessica or anyone else could ever give me or take away from me. Peace.